D is around. Let's see if I can get him in the room. Just one sec. I'm actually not sure how to get him in the room now that we're live. Hold on, let's see. I think we just have to rock and roll. We'll figure it out while we're on. But yeah, let's just get started. Actually, let me pause it. Stop the video for a second.
So to get started, Lady Phoenix, do you want to do an intro or do you just want to
Yeah,
get
so
right
what
into
I'll
it?
say, I paused the live, but what I'll essentially say is, welcome to day 3 of Crypto Art Week. We are honored by our guests, Steve, Brett, Matthew, Renee, for the collectors panel. They're here to answer all of your questions and, demystify some of the ideas around collecting. Take it away. Something like probably exactly that, actually. So,
All right.
just keeping it
Sounds
really
perfect.
simple. Yeah, keeping it really simple. This is really low key. It's just essentially a bunch of friends hanging out. And, we're just chill. We're really just chill. We put this together last minute, came to Coldy. I was like, I want to do Crypto Art Week. He was like, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. I just want to bring the community together. I'm really new to the space, not new to crypto art, but I'm new to this community. I don't really know people the way you do. So can we combine our forces together to galvanize the community around, the artists, the collectors, and, the future of this space? And he was like, yeah, hell yeah. And he really, has spearheaded this whole thing, getting everybody together, bringing everyone he knows and respects from the space. And so, yeah, that's it. So it's chill. It's really chill. We did this in like 2 weeks, so thanks for all of your flexibility and everything. I want to honor your guys' time. It is 9 o'clock and I like being on time. I just don't know how to let him in the waiting room now that we're kind of on to the next. So maybe he can pop in at the end or something like that. Is that okay with you guys?
Good with me? Yeah, sure.
Sweet. Let's start
It
the video.
works.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Crypto Art Week. I am Lady Phoenix, your host. We are honored by our guests, Brett, Matthew, Renee, and Steve. They will demystify all of your questions around collecting, what collectors are looking for, how to build a crypto art collection. We're really excited. And gentlemen, please take it away.
Cool. Well, I'll kick things off since I'm technically, I guess, the moderator of this panel. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew, co-founder of Cent, the blockchain-based social network, co-founder of the WIP weekly meetup, the Metaverse meetup, and really excited to be moderating this collectors panel. I'm joined by 4 gentlemen, Brett Shear, Steve Wand, Renee, and then Sky. Really excited to get into the meat and potatoes of why we're collecting art, crypto art specifically, what we're looking for, going way beyond that, looking into like the high level where the space is at and where it's going and what we need in order to progress. But to get things started, I think it'd be cool to go around the horn and have our other panelists introduce themselves real quick and maybe say like within like a couple minutes how they came to be a crypto art collector to get things started. And to get started, I guess I'll pass the mic over to Brett and we can go from there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for moderating. Yeah, so I'm Brett Shear. I go by Blockchain Brett in the crypto art world. My background, I'm the co-founder and COO of a software startup called Fleek. It's in like the blockchain kind of crypto space, more so kind of decentralized storage, IPFS kind of, but that's because of my like software product background is actually how I came across NFTs and crypto art like a couple years ago, maybe longer. I was at Consensus building a product, which is like an Ethereum shop, and came across Super Rare first. And then, I guess I had seen like CryptoKitties and other NFT platforms like that, and CryptoPunks early on and stuff. But Super Rare is when I kind of really looked at it as like art for the first time. And I saw like Coldie on there and Xcopy and Hackathon, kind of the earliest ones. And yeah, like I started to realize like, all right, this makes sense. It's one of one. Like it's technically the technology makes it work, and it's provably that piece, that image that it says it is, because it's referenced IPFS. So I got the technical side, and then I just related a lot with the ideologies of the artists and like the kind of messages they're getting across with their work. I think that was kind of the main thing that drew me to actually like want to own them is and collect is because you know, whether it was Coldie getting across kind of these like deep influential characters, or Hackatow getting across like, you know, these kind of like deep, sexy, like love concepts and stuff like that. It was just like the ideologies that were really attractive. I wanted to start collecting.
Cool. And then I guess whoever wants to jump in next, feel free to grab the mic and introduce yourself and talk about how you found crypto art real quick.
Sure, I'll step up. So Steve Wand here. I found crypto art kind of by default. I was in crypto since about 2013, and I was at ETH Waterloo in 2017 when CryptoKitties won the hackathon there. So kind of looked into NFTs slightly, didn't really understand them fully, and kind of thought it was a strange concept of little cats, but either way, it seemed to be taking off. About 6 months after that, I went to the Texas Bitcoin conference and bought some cryptoart.com off Troy there. And then went to Consensus, and Josie was there, and I met her in 2018 in May, and she had her art, and she was showing me the AR part of it and explained that she was also going to have NFTs to match. And funny enough, her first ones tune in, the NFTs were free if you bought the print. So from there, it kind of snowballed, and then I found Super Rare as well. And by default, kind of got attracted to some of the older creators on the platform. And then from there, it's become a ridiculous obsession for me as far as crypto art at this stage.
For sure. Definitely collecting is really addicting. I always tell people when you get be careful before you buy your first piece, because after that, it's super downhill.
Yeah, you're done.
It's only a matter of time to
Yeah.
get a second. Cool. And then I don't know if Renee or Sky wants to go next.
Yeah, I think I go next. So I'm already like playing around with virtual VRM avatars and streaming and stuff like that, which you can see in my stream. Like I have thinking about like during this panel to show off some art as well. But a little bit to my background, I've started to enter the space with the Decentraland land auction in late 2017, and I already had like a software development company that has digged into virtual reality for a couple of years at that time. And we connected with the team of DCL and started a project called Chainbreakers, which we did for, I think, 2 years, and learned a lot through that, met a lot of interesting people, including Steve. I remember Brett from the interview in Japan with Super Rare, where I also was like interviewed. So I guess it was like in early, maybe also around 2018, 2019, when I had my first contact with crypto art. And I think in 2019, I received my first gift from Josie, which was also tuned in because she asked us if she can use our assets that we've created at Chainbreakers for one of these screens. And yeah, from there, like I started to explore Super Rare and the other platforms, Makerspace, Known Origin were the first 3. And then, yeah, started collecting. And I think it has become a bit excessive after we've started Collectors Hub this summer. So in spring to summer 2020, I was working on a project called Gallerist, which is a cool way to showcase your art across all the issuers that you've collected with your Ethereum address. And we did this together with a friend from Israel, Joni. He's also well known in the NFT space, and it was quite successful. And by testing it, I became the power user of my own platform, basically. But I don't want to turn back time. Like it's super nice to support the artist and to see how this unfolds, and how much more is possible with digital art, with NFTs, in contrast to physical pieces, especially when all of us are like quarantine all around the world. And like I don't collect physical art. I didn't collect physical art before I jumped into NFTs. So for me, it's hard to imagine how can I show all the pieces, and how can I share this cool art with my friends if it was only physical. So very excited about what's coming in the past in the next years. What happened in the past months and years. I think we are just at the beginning of something very, very revolutionary, and happy to be here with all of you.
100%. Feels like the revolution is just getting started, so to speak. And shout out Collectors Hub. It's a great place to kind of collate all of the NFTs that you've collected, at least on Ethereum, and then put together like mini little galleries. I have a couple myself. Great product.
Thanks.
And if Sky has entered the room, I guess it'd be great for you to introduce yourself and tell folks how you came to fall down the crypto art rabbit hole. Is Sky here? I know he was in the waiting lobby before. I'm not sure if he entered. Doesn't look like it. Okay. So I know that Brett has to leave at 9:30, and Lady Phoenix told us to get into the juicy stuff really early, just for time's sake. So let's get right into it. A lot of the folks out there are asking, like, why do we collect the things that we collect? I know Andrew Steinwall dropped a question asking us to kind of talk about the factors that go into the background behind why we collect some of the pieces. Like, is it because of the artist brand? Is it because of the individual piece, the style of a particular work? Anything else? I feel like talking about why we buy the works that we buy could be a great way to kind of get into the juicy stuff that people and artists are curious about. So Brett started off first, but I'll give the mic to Steve to get things started and talk about the factors that go into why you collect what you collect.
Yes, it came at a point where I wanted both, and Josie said I was one of the unique collectors that both wanted a physical and an NFT. So pretty much for every drop she had for almost a year, I'd buy a physical piece and at least one NFT, if not two physical pieces, and get two NFTs. And it came to a point where a couple weeks ago, I emailed her saying, moving forward, I'll only be buying NFTs. So at first, I appreciated the crypto art only because it was very scarce. A lot of times I would either find it at a crypto conference, Satoshi's Roundtable, somewhere that would be unique, that's not online, there's no websites or anywhere else to obtain these things. So the scarcity of them drew me into them. The kind of, the genre that they were covering, not many artists out there were covering anything to do with Bitcoin, Ethereum, or, even the crop banking system or anything that I, had a lot of interest in. So I liked messages that I saw within art. I like people pushing boundaries, using new software that no one had seen before. So Carlos was his 3D, other people, they'd form a style where you could tell, where, even Hackatow, you see that or Xcopy, you know exactly whose art that is. Now I know there's fakes out there, but you know what the originals are. So where we're heading with this, right now, we've got a lot of, say, trash art being made, so to speak, on, say, Rarible and some of the other ones, just everyone kind of throwing things at the wall right now. When more artists enter the blockchain kind of digital space, those will be pushed out, of course, and that artwork will probably be left, worthless. But what will, I think, be left out of that is that, once a couple major artists come on board, and we're seeing the sales that they're obtaining, I think it's going to be a huge door and flood coming in after that. And again, it'll drive out anyone who isn't talented in the space, which I think is a good thing, essentially, because right now a lot of people are spending their ETH, well, it's going to be worth a lot more in the future on art that's going to be worth nothing in the future. So even though art's a hot thing, it doesn't mean that every piece of art out there is going to be valuable in the future. There's a couple on Rarible that no doubt, they make low scarcity copies. They charge a very fair price for them, and they sell out within an hour or within minutes sometimes. That I agree with fully. But again, I don't know. I prefer to look on Super Rare, Maker's Place, Known Origin, where there is one of ones, where it is a big drop, and I have to compete with other collectors to get these things. I think the artists deserve the rates they're getting when there's more bidding going on than just a drop for a set price. But as far as, I don't think we've even seen where art is even heading. And right now, whoever's been here for 6 months, we think this is booming in a huge hype cycle. I don't think we've seen anything yet.
And then you mentioned the one-of-ones, obviously super rares. That's what super rare
100%.
means, right? And then a lot of artists on Unknown Origin do one-of-ones and ultra rares as well.
Yep.
So do you not even look at editions? I know Josie, she's probably one of the most famous examples of doing editioning quite well. How do you think of like editions and the super rares and what to collect? Like how strongly does that influence if you even consider a piece?
Well, I would say that I guess it's on the flip side. So the artists themselves have to realize that they're dropping a one-of-one that's being bid on. A whale is going to win that. So you're removing 99% of the people who want to collect your work by far. On the flip side of that, if you drop 20 of them on Nifty, they sell out in 4 seconds, and then 18 of them are on OpenSea 40 seconds later for triple the price. So there's good and bad coming with that. I don't mind if an artist doesn't drop many pieces, say in a quarter, but does drop 3 solid, 1-of-10s or 1-of-20s. I will definitely buy those. When I do see, for example, Trevor Jones or whatnot, when you see a piece like that, no matter how much you like it, unless you've got $50,000, you're not going to be getting that piece if it's a one-of-one. If he did say 20 and they were $800 each, I think for the artist, they're building a bigger community in that sense. For whale collectors, though, they love one-of-ones. So I guess it's a trade-off for the artist, and I guess they can make that decision themselves.
For sure. And then Brett, like what sort of factors do you consider when looking at work to collect?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors, but like I think it's evolved over time. Like at first, like a few years ago, a couple years ago, maybe wasn't that many artists. The main factors, I guess, were just like sort of like brand, I guess, and just more, I guess even stronger, more so feel like what do you think of it? Is it cool? Is it unique? Is it something that like you can relate with? Like I could relate a lot with things that are like kind of crypto themed, coming from like caring about like censorship and decentralization, things like that. And a lot of stuff in the beginning was that kind of theme. And then, so I guess there's some 3D aspects. There was some just kind of like, vibrant colors, some sketching, so like it wasn't like super advanced at first, I would say. And then maybe the digital art world started to collide more with the crypto art world because it made a ton of sense, because it's like, all right, now you have a medium to like make digital art unique and make it provable and to give ownership to it and stuff. So that's where I feel like there's now over time I've taken into account like kind of sectors of different types of art. Like I like to look for like GAN, right? Like generative art is super cool. Like you got to like kind of have at least some of the generative cool artists, right? And then there's like 3D sculptors like Joy and Giant Swan, and like, so I guess, yeah, so 3D sculpting, then obviously like Colby's a classic 3D artist, and his like lenticulars that he makes are physical as well, but just like his ability to kind of put in like these really cool 3D elements. So you can kind of go on and on about like the kind of different like areas, and I'm sure they're going to continue to evolve. Like now Super supports 4D and other platforms too as well. You know, Matt Cain has like his, like, I think that's a sick thing where it's like, okay, he's actually creating software tools to make his own art. Like that's like a sort of a sector in itself, which is like pretty, is obviously genius. And so I think like that's kind of how I look at it now as evolved over time, is like, all right, what are the kind of these different areas and sectors of art that are like going to be huge, and then who are my favorite coolest collectors within that area, and kind of try to like diversify in that sense. But I mean, I think I tend to like be selective over time as well. At first I was kind of like, oh, I want to find the newest artist, who's the coolest, who's going to be next. And now that the space has matured a bit, and now there's like a lot of incoming, I'm very selective to kind of go to someone new unless I really feel like it's a very long-term thing. I think about it very long-term. Like I want to like kind of hold and be involved and kind of be a part of like the life story of these different artists. Like, yeah. And I think that obviously the other thing that's evolved over time is the price. And it's gotten a lot more expensive to buy. Back in the days, I remember like when people were first putting like an ether on the 1 ETH on a piece, and like that was the craziest concept. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. 1 ether, no way. On X copy, on Coldy, like these people are crazy, right? VK crypto, people like that. And those were the times, because now it's like, yeah, super expensive. But I think, yeah, I do agree with like, you know, the one-on-ones definitely clearly had the most value, and that additions like bring in more people as well. But yeah, I think, you know, kind of open to anything, open to all platforms. I actually think like that super rare is kind of like a really good middle ground between everywhere. And then like things like, you know, Rarible, maybe Rarible's kind of all over the place too. I think it can kind of, it's good middle ground. Like you can get anything, like anywhere from like a lot of editions and brand new artists and people unverified, all the way to like people that have proven themselves to have like one-on-ones that are really good, like GAN artists or whatever. And then there's like, I try to get at least a couple of like the asyncs, like the super high, like luxury, like premium works as well. So there's like variety in like, in like the type of artist, the medium, like the type of platform, like the like kind of that type of thing. And then, but above all is just like, how does it relate to you? Like, how cool is it to you? What's the artist style? You know, because you want to hold it and be proud of like your work.
For sure. And then Renee, what sort of factors do you consider when you're collecting?
I agree with a lot of things that Brad and Steve said. I also think like one-of-ones have something very special, and agree that editions are a great way, if done correctly, to extend the collectorship and acquire new collectors. I realized this when I started collecting, for example, Katie Arrington this year, that her editions were priced still below 1 ETH. Some would be able, could snipe some for 0.4 or something like that. But yeah, they are very limited, and editions of, let's say, 100 doesn't really make sense to me. Like I don't look at them, but everything below 20, better than below 10 or 5, are very interesting as a collector, because one-of-ones of certain artists like Kitty Bast or Kate Arrington, like they shoot very high prices already. Basically, the second wave of you could say artists that become very popular after this first wave, Hekata and the others that we mentioned. Yeah, so it's already possible to envision a bit in which direction all of this is going. I also, yeah, I think when you check out my gallery, it's very obvious that there are a lot of psychedelic colors in there. For example, this one, Fantasy Mushroom, is a new edition. Pretty cool stuff. But the artist was unknown at the start, so I added her into my collection, despite the fact that I didn't have anything from her before. But yeah, I think I started to stick to my Twitter feed, to the artists that I've already collected, to the artworks and artists that they also like and onboard into their inner cycle and collect themselves. So most of the stuff that I'm buying is currently at Rarible because it is the most open marketplace. But obviously there's a lot of art that I wouldn't like touch there. So if you explore that marketplace, I highly recommend to get like informed before and check the social media accounts of the artists. Some even like Katie, for example, they have their YouTube accounts where they showcase how the artworks are actually created. I like when artists showcase their progress when creating certain pieces, and only trust what you understand. I think that's very important. And if you want to be really sure, stick to the big platforms like Super Rare, Maker's Place, Known Origin. Like they are very well curated. Some hate it, others love it. I'm also like very open to all kinds of platforms, so nothing to discuss here. But some very colorful pieces, some only with colors, a lot of impressions of characters, female, male, cats. Cats always work. Basically,
sure.
it started to become a pretty big collection actually. And then I also like supporting individual artists. Like I, for example, joined the Discord of Skeeny and helped him with as a liquidity provider on Uniswap to provide liquidity for his personal token. Similar stuff I'm doing with Rare Designer who has recently launched this Odysseum project, which is pretty amazing. Like he was doing art, a tokenist art before, and this is the first project that he has launched by himself. And besides the regular cards, he also draw Whale Shark and others like me. It's like a consistent style that I'm currently have like a close eye on, and helping him in his Discord. I think like the relationship to the artists themselves are what makes this very interesting. I don't think that this close relationships are even possible in the physical world, because like our best practice right now is like to communicate on Discord and to be deeply involved in the communities, like several at once at the time. So it's very hard where you know each other and catch up with each other and have things to discuss. I'd
For
say.
sure, the space has definitely felt very small and intimate until now. Like everyone recognizes everyone's face. But to kind of like tie this section up, I feel like a lot of artists are always wondering if there's like some magical answer of what collectors will collect, what they're looking for. And I think that like these explanations show that there's no one universal answer. Every collector has their own unique fingerprint, right? And you can listen to them talk about the factors that they look for, right? Or if they have a thesis and they have different metrics that they check out and clock for. Of course, like the one of ones, the editioning, like those things seem pretty standard, but when you dig down into it, everyone's ETH address will show something distinctly unique in their collection. And just like a lot of collectors do their homework on the artists, I feel like artists are able to do a lot of homework in reverse on collectors and see what folks like. But the next question, and I know Brett only has a few minutes before he has to bounce, is about just the actual, like, everyone's familiar with the auction format, I think, and then setting hard buy prices on the marketplaces. But I know there's a lot of alternative ways to acquire art. Back channel DMs, the Sarah show, aka Sarah Zucker, was talking about how in the offline traditional art world, it's not uncommon for a collector to stop by the studio and see what they have on stock and if they're willing to let anything go. I'm just curious if any of you, starting with Brett, have acquired art through means other than an auction or scooping something with a list price.
Yeah, for sure. You gotta, I mean, I think like if you think you can get a deal, there's definitely been some stories. I've done some stuff like that, like to just reach out directly to the artist and like if you like it. So I'll give a few examples, I guess. Like one was like I went to the Coldy exhibit, not the Cold exhibit, but like the Get Out show that he did back when like the coronavirus just started kind of getting going and everyone was indoors.
In CV?
Yeah, at TV it was the Get Out Now show or something. And I saw like one of the main pieces was the Hope piece, like the one that Nelly Bax did. And I just like I went and bought like some of them off the auction and on OpenSea, and then I just messaged her because I wanted to try to get like an advantage, so I can try to get some. And sometimes, you know, if like you reach out and they respect you, they respect you as a collector, it carries like some weight, and you know maybe they want you to also collect their piece and have your piece. So there's kind of like a brand as a collector as well that they appreciate. So like she said that she had the original painting and the original 101 NFT still, and like she was thinking about taking it to auction. And I saw it, I was like, what price would you like plan on auctioning it for? Like, why don't I just buy now? And we like kind of negotiated a little bit, and I like came up with a deal at the time, which like I thought was an amazing deal, and she like let me kind of buy it before even potentially going to auction. So that's like one example for sure. I did something similar with Josie actually with one of her one-on-ones. That yeah, I guess just like being in contact and reaching out goes a long way. I've seen also like if you find an artist, like someone that's new, and I've done this before too, like then like they have like an Instagram, they have really cool work that's digital work that they haven't tokenized yet. And you're like, wow, this person's gonna be really good because you know maybe they tokenize the work they've already created, like I can see it right there, or like there's some new pieces they might make, whatever it is. But you can kind of say, hey, I really like those pieces you have, you plan on tokenizing them, like you can kind of maybe work out like a batch deal, buy a few, they're a new artist, maybe they're new to the space. Someone like you know like Hackatow or like Coldy or something like that is going to be way less inclined to do something like that because like as you I guess you like are used to a certain way, your collectors are used to a certain way, like you do a drop, it's always auction style, you always have a chance, like it's going to be a high price no matter what. They also don't have much of like an incentive to do like a deal if you have like a successful consistent auction like method. So yeah, if someone's like not in like has like always a way they drop pieces or a way that's like people know and then wait for it and stuff, like you have those kind of opportunities can arise. And I'd suggest giving it a shot. Like you might as well, like if you think you're getting a good deal, it's worth it as a collector for sure. Yeah, so those are fun.
Yeah. And then I know you need to hop off right now. So I just wanted to give you a real quick last word if you had anything you want to leave our listeners with before you jump off.
Yeah, so I gotta hop off. I mean, I think yeah, I think like we're still in early days, like people say, but I mean the price, like things have gotten super expensive as well, and I don't know. I still think there's a long way to go for sure. I think like my comparison is kind of like you can think of it as like the new genre of music that just happened, like when EDM first started, and like it's huge, right? And it's popping off. But also with EDM came like these tools, which is what I look at like as NFTs, right? And like you have new ways of producing music, new amazing technologies that you can make that make sense. And then all of a sudden, like these tools that kind of EDM artists were using, every other genre end up using it. Like now, rappers, hip hop, etc. Everyone uses like new forms of like electronic tools, right? So I think like that's kind of what's happening. I feel like art in general, a lot of genres in art are converging and starting to use like the technology of NFTs and the platforms that NFTs list on. But like, and I also look at kind of like crypto themed art as the original like EDM music. Like it's like the Coldy, the Josie, like the people that like really kind of give across like, you know, the ideologies of crypto like that. You know, the banks are might be a problem, like inflation, like decentralization is necessary, privacy, all these things that like are like a reason why a lot of people enter the crypto space, enter the blockchain decentralization space, is kind of like to me the core amazing art that I love, that I look for. but that it's also really exciting how like new genres and new kind of types of artists coming into the space and those are awesome. There's amazing artists everywhere. So yeah, maybe just keep looking out, see who the next big artist is, and you can pick them up or try to collect the blue chip if you can.
For sure. Well, thank you for joining us, Brett. It was a pleasure. A shame that you couldn't stay and talk with us longer, but we can catch up some other time.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry about that. It got moved around and it ended up being a conflict, so I got to hop off. But thanks so much for having me. I wish I could stick around.
Yeah. Cool. And then, well, getting back to the other question that we were in the middle of if there's any alternative ways that you've procured your work or art in your collection outside of the traditional auction format or the list price. Curious to hear any stories from Renee, if you have any.
Yeah, sure. It's very often that I found certain artists and I DM them on Twitter. It's always obviously more comfortable for a collector to reach out into the direction of the artist rather than like getting flooded with messages, buy my stuff and blah blah. I think many collectors who have created like a serious collection are facing this, and then if they, for example, didn't have a one-of-one like going away for a price in the past, I often join the discussion and ask them like, which price are you looking for? Maybe we can find like a value, or like I propose something, whatever ETH, 0. whatever ETH when they are very new, and yeah, if you like find a common number, common value, and the artist stays like, okay, yeah, why not? For them, it's beneficial being inside collections of people who have curated art for a long time. So I guess in the end, it's a win-win situation if you can create like a deal below radar like this, and yeah, give the artist another push into the market and help them to find new people on Twitter or social media who enjoy their art just by getting a shout out and retweeting them, and maybe some editions get sold on top of that. And there are a lot of stories that I've experienced in the past where this has worked, it's always nice to be an enabler at that point, and at the same time meeting people in real life at conferences, artists and stuff like that. It's really interesting when you have like the personal layer of communication, when you know yourself in real life. That made a huge difference for me in the beginning when I met Josie, who was like the first crypto artist that I met in real life. And it's just a bit different that obviously you will reach out to each other and like find out what's new, and then maybe find out about a certain drop that comes out. And I think Steve can also relate with this, that it's very important to be in active conversation with the artists that you collect, and always look out for those who might be hot in the future, or which you like that might be hot in the future, obviously. I'd say those were some things that I mostly experienced if I don't like bid in auctions or buy editions.
Yeah, how about you, Steve? Any legendary backdoor deals that you made to acquire some diamonds, or any alternative approaches that you've experienced or even heard about in terms of acquiring?
So I definitely reached out to artists directly, either to ask what's your reserve, or if you're asking 13 ETH and I'm willing to put up 10, what's kind of your floor. So I think that's very healthy. They also respect that. Sometimes they've inflated the price drastically, knowing some people are going to place 1 ETH bid on a 30 ETH ask. So I understand where they're coming from. Again, at conferences, like Renee said, that was key at both ETH Denver's as well as Consensus and NFT NYC. I've definitely made direct deals with someone there on the spot. They would send me a physical print later on, send me NFT like that night when they were on the ball again. And right now, Rarible, as an example, it's definitely, I've had a number of cases where you see an artist put out a fantastic piece, they make 900 of them, are charging 0.0003 ETH, and you reach out saying, obviously this is your first time on Rarible. If I were you, I'd make a 1 of 5, charge 0.15 ETH, and I buy those things from them. You find sometimes after 2 or 3 purchases, they'll do an airdrop for you for free on the next piece. So, and it also goes a long way. I think a lot of them, it gives them kind of the push they need to not only get some money sometimes to be able to buy better equipment or tools or software that they need, but it also, spurs them to be like, shit, I just made it thinking no one was going to buy it. Someone bought it in half an hour. And sometimes you see them make some cooler pieces and they're dropping the next day. So it's nice to kind of, give those people the spark they need to do that. And a lot of these, are going to have a long, successful career in the space. So it's nice to help them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think all these stories are really helpful for new collectors and then artists to kind of be a little bit more open or look for making sure that their DMs are open to accept these messages. A lot of times people don't know if their DMs are unlocked or locked or whatever, and it can be difficult to reach a lot of artists. So definitely making sure.
The one thing that's going to be the game changer, and I don't know how this would look around privacy, but right now, instead of looking on Twitter, say, for example, OpenSea or Rarible, if you were able to anonymously email or just send a message, even like in just small text, be like, hey man, like either here's my crypto, like contact me directly, I want to buy this off this site. I know some of the platforms might not want to hear that, but either way, it'd be nice to be able to engage, because some people, like, it's not want to take advantage of them in any way, be like, you're doing this wrong, and I can offer you in a minute some very helpful guidance that's going to better your career. Or make it look, like right now, some people have 50 things they made, all overpriced, nothing sold. They're anonymous. They have no Twitter account. Those people are never going to succeed in this space. And if you could just give them a little bit of, some tips, if they were serious about the space, they could change that overnight, and literally like change the face of how they're doing business.
No, for sure. I mean, direct communication on any of these marketplaces would be such a welcome addition. I mean, even from the artist perspective, a lot of times they have a bid waiting for days, weeks even, I've seen, and they just don't know how to contact the collector, the person who made the bid, to let them know that they're not going to accept at that price. So hopefully soon, Trademark, we get one of these marketplaces to give us that. Hopefully super rare, to be quite.
Yes, no, I'd like to see
from
that
a collector's perspective.
Yeah, I also hope for that. I hope for like a solution where I can basically hit up an Ethereum address owner with like a direct message on Telegram, Discord, whatever they have activated in their account management of that given platform that doesn't exist yet. But I think that's it. Like having a simple chat function to reach out to somebody with an Ethereum address, and that somebody can log in inside like a web app and see all the messages that they have received. And then you can kick out the conversation from there into Discord or Telegram or WhatsApp or whatever, email. I guess that's something that the space really, really needs to establish the connection between NFT collectors and NFT creators, especially in the art market.
Totally. And to kind of like tie this topic together, I guess one of the other places that I found some really great gems to collect are within the metaverse itself. There's a lot of auctions, some large, some really promoted, some not so well promoted, that happen in CryptoVoxels, Decentraland, where some great pieces are put up for auction, either for charity or just as like a little mini auction for whatever cause. And if you're paying attention, you have your ear to the ground, you can find out about these auctions, get there on time. And depending on the format, they may have like a fixed time bidding format where if you're the highest bidder after like 10 minutes, you'll get this piece. And like, for example, that's how I collected Janisu, one of the Janisu pieces that I have, still life number 4, I believe, or 5. It was just an incredible deal, great cause, but the fact that it was this relatively obscure auction that was being held within the metaverse is a great place to scoop it up.
Yeah. Stuff like that is amazing.
Yeah, just always be open to any of the information that's floating around crypto Twitter, Center, or wherever. But on a related topic, I'm curious to get your guys' opinion about bidding wars. I know when I first came into the space a couple years ago, it was really cool. I'm still fascinated when these bidding wars erupt for pieces. I consider it a spectator sport even if you're not involved in it. And I've heard a lot of talk about it moving the space forward. Obviously, bringing attention to some of the prices that these bidding wars result in can be very good for the space to grow. I'm just curious how you guys think about bidding wars at this stage of the game. Are bidding wars something that you seek out, you enjoy if it erupts over a piece that you're coveting, or you like to avoid? What are your guys' opinions on bidding wars?
I know for myself, I don't mean to get myself in them most times. You have to take into play too when the bids, get up past 20 ETH, the next bid that you're placing. So in some cases, there's some game theory coming into play here where you want to push out and place a bid enough where he's going to have to place 7 ETH on top of what his last bid was. Likely you're going to win in that case. Sometimes you go in going, I don't give a shit what this is going for. I'm going to pay it. Other times, like, please, for the love of God, don't outbid me because I'm not willing to go any higher. And then again, I think when gas was cheaper, a lot of times the bidding wars were people who wanted their name on the blockchain in history on these important pieces after some time, and they were able to do it for 3 cents an ETH as a gas fee. And some of them just were placing bids. They'd all be like, everything was just a 1 ETH bid, knowing they were going to 30. So in some cases, I think some of those bids were, it wasn't a true collector. It was someone wanting to make their mark in the blockchain crypto art space history. But nowadays you see Pablo gets into a lot of bidding wars. Whale Shark and Token Angels used to do it a lot with myself. And I knew kind of if Whale Shark was coming back 2 and 3 times, he wasn't going down, without a fight with me. So you get a sense on who you're bidding against and what has happened in the past. You can watch and see how people played this out in other cases and use it against them when you're bidding. So it becomes kind of a strategy. It's almost like a chess game of bidding with them. And in some cases, yeah, you're really upset that you've lost. In other cases, you didn't mind going 10 more ETH because that piece is in your wallet.
Super nice. Yeah, I haven't had too much experience with these high-end bidding wars as Steve was just describing, but a few of them I was expecting them from the sidelines. And on the one hand, of course, you feel very happy for the artist. Most of them that you also know, or maybe also have like an artwork of them or like a few editions in your gallery, and you just enjoy the price getting higher because the artist is going to earn a lot for what they have created, he or she has created. And the same time, as Steve said, like, it's interesting to inspect and understand certain strategies of certain participants, including Pablo, Whale Shark, and him. Definitely, there are patterns that you can see even from the sidelines, and it's very interesting to see this playing out because it's really, those people are making history in the tokenized art world. And I think there will be certain pieces where people are going to write about even in 5 years, 10 years from now. So very happy to explore or like experience it from the sideline, maybe join in at some point as well for certain pieces. But definitely it's an exciting experience to explore what's happening there.
Actually, the point that Steve had brought up with, especially when gas prices were low and you'd see a lot of bidders get in, start some action on a certain piece just to have their name or their address like attached to the blockchain forever for certain pieces. I hadn't even considered that, but that's like a really, really interesting insight.
I used to do it often if I knew I wasn't going to go above 10 ETH. I go in with a 0.05, typically you're outbid within minutes. But it was something, I was thinking back and I was like, this is the 390th piece sold in history. There's going to be hundreds of millions of these things. That's going to be kind of a significant thing. I'm looking back. And I just, being a collector, I was almost like, I wanted to reserve my spot as like a digital collector on this piece. And it's a weird way of looking at it, but that's kind of the way I saw it.
Super cool.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of bidding wars, I haven't been in many myself. I think that my favorite, most memorable one is over Saint Nakamoto, the A Lot of Money and Da Vinci collaboration
Yes.
back at the end of last November, December. Thankfully, literally right before, like days before, Whale Shark jumped into the ocean, because if he was there, I probably wouldn't have won that. But it's such an intense thing going back and forth. I think, Steve, you really kind of hit the nail on the head of how you describe it, and thinking like who you're going up against, like what sort of strategy do you need to employ? Like, do you need to have like a crazy high jump up to secure it, or can you go back and forth, just kind of wear them out, war of attrition kind of thing? It's incredibly
I've even
interesting.
seen people, I swear I've seen people look at my wallet balance and know that if they go above it,
Yeah.
then I have to transfer ETH. And if it's something where the auction is going to close because it's not a 24-hour clock, then all of a sudden you're like, shit, you know what I mean? You have to transfer ETH over and hope it closes before that auction closes, or you can't bid. So, and that's I find that, you know, that's very amusing that someone's going to that length to find out how they can right now guarantee outbid you. Yeah, I find that a funny tactic.
That's funny. And then, well, related to this, Mighty Moose had a question for us, talking about price. I know, Steve, you alluded to this a couple times, where you had this sort of like, there's a piece, you don't care how high it's going to go, you want to get that piece no matter what happens. But then there's pieces where you have a ceiling that you'll hit. And Mighty Moose was curious what sort of parameters we follow when it comes to pricing a piece, when it comes to putting a ceiling there, or completely shattering the idea of a ceiling for certain pieces.
Yes.
How does that work in your guys' mind?
I typically look at the artist, the history. Other collectors are extremely important to me. So if I look at a piece and I have no idea who any of those other addresses are, or you look and it's the who's who of the collector space, there's obviously a reason why they have that in their wallet as well. And there's a reason why you're willing to be bidding this high and look this deep into this piece. So in some cases, even Goldie's piece with the 3D glasses, when I found out it was 3D glasses, that's when I placed a bid on his piece last night, because I like things like that come with you know, a tangible piece. I bought one of Crypto Graffiti's pieces and it came with Hal Finney's credit card. When he told me that, I was like, yes, sold. I mean, so just a little bit extra like cool piece of history that in the future no one's really going to have a tangible piece with an NFT typically. So that also in itself would be a huge collector's feature. And just little things like that are where you're like, you know, rationally it should be this price, but you know what I mean? Like now I'm thinking rationally just because we want that, and sometimes rationality goes out the window in this case. But I have to say, the only time I've ever had a time of remorse is selling a piece that after I got it, like it was sold, I was happy to get that return, but I was like, I'm gonna miss that piece because I truly love that piece. And I've never bought a piece and go, I paid too much. I've only been like, shit, I shouldn't have sold that. I should have either kept it or I should have asked for more because I've appreciated it so much. So on that end of things, I can't say the same about tangible goods. Typically you have buyer's remorse that you bought those things, never that you've got rid of those things. So in this, it's kind of the flip end of that.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's very interesting to experience this feeling of giving away something digital for the first time and realizing that it's gone. Like somebody else owns it from that point. And yeah, I really like. I've experienced this a couple of times, and it's a special feeling. Like I think after you have experienced this for the first time, you really understand NFTs, and you start to understand why people are paying these amounts of money to buy digital assets, which are probably scarce. Super interesting. Exactly what Steve said.
Feels like you lost your dog momentarily. It's just it's like and it's funny because usually like whenever I've sold to Josie or a Carlos or a Lucho, we contact each other afterwards. We talk about it. We remember when I bought it off them, how cheap it was, you know what I mean, and all this stuff. And I don't know, it's like a little wee internal celebration between you and the artist. And it's actually a really cool it's a very temporary thing that happens for 10 minutes with you guys. You know, maybe it happens on Twitter and personal DMs, but I don't know, it's pretty special.
Absolutely.
No, that's really, And I think the automatic this as long as you're buying on a marketplace that recognizes the baked in royalties that go back to the original artist, I feel like it's even more special when you have these sales of pieces that you've collected. Of course, you have that like lost my dog feeling when you're going through your collection. You're like, I don't have that piece anymore.
Mhm.
But in that window of time right afterwards, when you make a great secondary sale and the artist is like getting a non-trivial amount of ETH in their pocket from that, you made a nice ROI. Everyone, it's a really special feeling. It is like
Yeah.
this mini celebration. It's very cool. And well, on that point, like the idea of selling pieces in your collection, as more people are coming into this space, especially as more people from DeFi kind of like caught wind of what's happening in crypto art and NFT lands broadly, a lot of people have been focused on or thinking about crypto art as an investment, and then thinking about maybe midterm, long-term ROI. How do you guys think about art collecting as an investment? Is it something that it's obviously there, but it's not a conscious thought, or is it something that you're consciously thinking about as you're building out these collections, thinking that someday eventually there's going to be a point in time when you start selling some of your collection? How do you guys think about that?
Uh, I personally don't think about it too much in the case of tokenized art. More with NFT projects that are not entirely art related. NFT projects with like gaming, or so like those that have like a collector's angle, but um, double down more on utility for the NFTs. It's different with those projects. With tokenized art, for me personally, it's just about accumulating a nice collection, supporting artists, and I don't look too much about the return on invest there.
I know myself, actually, I bought Josie's Tune In original at consensus offer, and I bought that 100% as an investment decision. I appreciated what it was, but seeing her age, her talent, knowing the space was like 6 months old, everything, it was purely an investment, thinking this is going to go up a ridiculous amount. It has changed slightly to be where I appreciate the art sometimes more than I'm thinking about the investment aspect of it. But almost every single piece that I own in both or three of my wallets pretty much is for sale. So some people I know have commented on Twitter saying, if Steve owns it, you're not going to get it very cheap off him. And technically, because you don't know when gas prices are going to boom again, if you set the limit too low and art starts booming and you have 190 pieces, you have to go in and cancel all those, pay the gas fee, and then relist them with another gas fee. So I technically price mine for 6 months out. And then every 6 months, I kind of do a roundup on, if an artist has spiked, if his work has gone through the roof, if he's all of a sudden added to Nifty like Lucho, and now his art sells out and it's worth triple what it was last week. So all these things, technically, you should be repricing. That's a healthy thing. And if you don't, it happened to me with the Decentraland. I had a piece of land for sale or a bid in on something, and then it went threefold, and the person got triple what they should have for that land. So it's, I know for a collector that's got a decent collection, I have more than 1,000 pieces in my wallet, so it's not as easy to do. But for anyone who's got 50, 100, 200 pieces, I think it's very healthy and a smart idea to go through and peruse. If you're paying attention to what's happening in the space, you should be able to gauge when something should be repriced, usually increased. So yeah, I definitely do that. And again, I don't think I have any piece in my portfolio that's not for sale. Some of them are priced hoping they don't sell, but if someone's willing to make an offer that is that inflated, I will be okay partying with that piece.
Yeah, I feel like the pricing of the pieces in the collection, I feel like it's a really important exercise, right? Because I mean, it brings you back, first of all, to the piece that you can think about it like right there, right now. But consciously thinking about what it's worth and putting it out there in the market. I mean, these are all signals that help to grow the space. And whether or not you're focused like on maximizing or achieving a certain percentage ROI or whatever, I feel like that action is really beneficial for the space, for the artists involved, and as a collector of being active in this space and not passive. I do the same thing.
And I like Lucio's pieces. I was always almost frustrated. I was like, Lucio, no one's buying your pieces, and you're asking like 0.3 ETH. This is ridiculous. And literally, a lot of times I email him, was like, I'll give you an ETH for this, because like you deserve the ETH. Like your piece is so good.
Yeah.
And it took until it's dropped on Nifty, and now good luck getting a Lucio piece for underneath. Anything animated. So I know it's nice to see them blow up, and it's almost frustrating to see them undervalued at the same time.
Yeah, I agree.
And then there's this other concept that I've been thinking of and simmering on for a while, and it's especially, I think it's unique to the crypto art space, or just generally the NFT space, and crypto, where you acquire like Bitcoin or Ethereum, and all in one fell swoop, you become your own bank, you become your own like investor. Like there's all these different hats you wear. In art, you become your own, and in Renee's case, like you make your own gallery, but you're a gallery, you're a curator, you're a collector, you're an appraiser, you're a reseller, you're all these things. You have so many different hats on, and a promoter as well, a lot of times. I'm curious, like what hats you guys wear as collectors in this space right now, and then like if you think that that's a unique thing, the fact that we're not just collectors, but we're all these other things at the same time. Curious what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I think you've described my roles pretty well. I think I would add that I'm diving very deep into communities, and I'm a person can be considered as like a connector. Like I like to network, I like to meet people virtually or in real life, and try to combine what connection that I already have in my network could be beneficial for this person or individual, to expand on or help what they are already doing and emphasize on that. So sometimes it's only like a few minutes of time in like a chat room where you connect two people in a group chat, and you already help out a lot and save hours of time. That's something that I know after being 3 years in the NFT space, that I can do that. And I did that very, very often, and I'm continue to do so to help growing the space and like the connections between artists, collectors, projects, and NFT interoperability was always something that fascinates me. And if I think about, if something comes to my mind, usually very creative, like all the time when I'm not sleeping, and I just write it down and instantly hook up people that might be able to solve this. And I think that's huge. Like that's a very precious value that I want to continue to provide as like a collector or somebody who understands this. We also like have over 10 developers employed in our company, and if somebody's interested in building like Web3 solutions that close gaps, we are always open to program MVPs or POCs that solve certain needs. So I think, I'm there like in various angles, and privately, of course, digging a lot into DeFi, using MakerDAO, using Aave, using Uniswap, obviously using like a lot of different platforms with a lot of different pseudonymous identities, because like if you do all of this in one or two or three wallets and addresses, like it's getting confusing. Like you need to get yourself structured if you want to survive this in the long term, and have like your public identity, have like your savings account on a hardware wallet or on a paper wallet, and like get everything structured. And you interact with yourself as various entities, like creating DAI in MakerDAO after like shipping in some ether, and then lend it out to somebody else, get some like money from that, earning interest. Uniswap liquidity providers are also like small exchange like Uniswap, very, very interesting to explore. But yeah, all of this happens on different addresses, and trying to understand always trying to understand like the big picture behind all of this, and recently started to dig into Filecoin for computational cloud storage, competitive cloud storage, on top of IPFS or similar protocols. Like these things are very interesting, and connecting these dots is very important to me, so that if I share the vision that I have about Ethereum, in particular, and cryptocurrencies, to friends, it's easier to find the right words to explain what all of this is about. And if they have, like, let's say 5 to 10 hours of their time, you can always like start digging and showing them how easy it is once you have some ETH on your wallet. And most of them are just excited. And I think DeFi and NFTs and identity management across applications with Ethereum is going to be so huge in the future. Really, really huge.
And then Steve, for you, I mean, in addition to your collector hat, do you feel yourself wearing any other hats as it relates to crypto art and the artists that you collect?
I would say I try and do my best to kind of educate new entrants to the space, as well give some insight back to known artists in the space who are asking, how do you like when we drop new artwork? Do you like the auction model? Do you like the Dutch auction? There's all these different aspects that they'd like to know from someone who does, I guess, plays big bids in the auctions, and that I like as well, because typically if they're tailoring to what the style you like, of course you're going to continue to do that. I think it's the first time we've been able to wear all these hats. And again, I don't mind wearing them because the possibilities there. It's the first time where I can be my own social media manager. I can connect with the artists for the first time. I can talk to everybody who, the founders of all the platforms, to see what they're changing. And I am one of the admins in a WhatsApp group that there's a number of kind of industry leaders in. And that's very beneficial as well to kind of get a feel for what's coming, what they're thinking it's going to look like in 6 months from now on their platforms. And again, educating people. And I also, I applaud anyone who's calling out wrongdoings in the space. It's not easy, especially when people are making money off those wrongdoings. They don't like to talk about it, and they don't like to stop the money trains from happening. But when it's happening and it's tainting the space, and it could lead to, SEC or anything else, like just like headaches in the future, I think we should get rid of them right now. They should be called out, and anyone seeing anything like that, as long as you have some backup or evidence that it is happening, I think it should be, publicly called out and dealt with.
100%. And well, Steve, I want to make sure, because I'm cognizant of your hard time stop of 15 minutes past the hour. I'm not sure if Lady Jupiter is listening in. I know there may be questions from the audience. So Lady Jupiter, if you're listening in, you can ask us some of the questions from the audience as we head into the back end of our discussion. But if she doesn't respond in a couple minutes, we can go into a couple, maybe 1 or 2 more questions before we can wrap this up at 15 minutes past.
Yes.
I really like Lady Jupiter. I think I'm going to use that from now on. That's fantastic.
Hey, did I mess it up? It's Lady something, correct?
Lady Phoenix. But I love Lady Jupiter. Actually, I have a little side project called Jupiter Art. So that's you're right on point. I'm always on that. That's my alias. I'm gonna make a new Twitter account called Lady Jupiter. Let me pull up the questions here. You guys did fantastic, by the way. I'm stoked. I want to have a part 2. You guys rocked it. I learned a lot listening to you. Steve, I really like your perspectives on collecting and how you value art. And Renee, I loved, how you went into all the different spaces and how people should be, you know, thinking about art from various angles and securing their position in this space or in this world of crypto art if they're very serious about it and all the potentials. And so I'm excited to see what happens. Matthew, you're an incredible host. So you should be the moderator for all of our panels moving forward. You and Easy Crypto have just killed it. Okay, let's see. This person says it's good to ask other collectors about the artists they collect, but I really suggest to approach artists directly. No one knows more about the artwork than the artist who made it.
Mhm.
Very true.
It's actually, I do like looking because you can go in and say, find what Josie or someone is selling and look also what they're collecting. And
Right.
sometimes it's funny because sometimes what they collect is nearly the exact opposite of what they're creating. And it's a very funny blend because they don't really like work that they're creating. They like kind of the alternative styles and genres, and I find that very interesting.
Me too. This person, Bruce Graham, says, do you guys use digital frames to view and display your collection? And I'm also kind of curious about what you think of like on-chain viewing options for the future.
Personally, right now, I would say all of my work is displayed in Decentraland, soon to be Somnium Space, and Sandbox and Voxels. I have downloaded the Async app on my Apple box, but I don't own anything from Async. So to this date, I have not posted anything, say on a digital frame or a TV, but that definitely is the plan moving forward, you know, within the coming years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm also looking for nice products on that end. Best thing would be like open solutions that allow me to display all of the collectible art that tokenized art that I have, no matter like which issue that it was released on, because in the end I don't really care too much if I skim through if this particular artwork has been issued on Maker's Place or Known Origin or Rarible. I just see the artwork. I know the artist, and I want to view it on my digital frame, right? And yeah, I think there are a couple of interesting products coming out, like the frame thing from Samsung that looks like a real frame because it's like a very small OLED display. But yeah, usually, like for me personally, it's like my second screen or my television, which is connected to my computer, and like maybe sometimes like I use a tablet where I open a Chrome browser on full screen and then click play and like the gallery goes through and skims through the artworks. But there's still a lot of work to be done to have like very captivating animated slideshows across all issuers that works on almost any device. I think that's what we should aim for, and that's what like Collectors Hub is also striving for, to provide these tools and these dApps basically, where you just log in with MetaMask and then you can do all of this despite like which issuer has created the NFT. So I'm looking forward to these products, and also of course checking out homebrew solutions that you just stumble upon on Twitter or Reddit. There are a lot of interesting things that people are doing to display art, digital art.
You know, for me, all of my crypto art is displayed in my art stadium that's been designed by a lot of money in crypto voxels right now.
Oh.
I don't have anything in real life that's displayed, but like Steve said, really quickly, Somnium Space seems like the next stop for his collection. It's the same for me. I feel like Somnium Space is really starting to kick into high gear in terms of its like updates, and then the potential as a really amazing immersive gallery space. A few weeks ago, maybe a little over a month ago, Sky Gope in conjunction with Mocha had a nice gallery viewing over there, and
Yes.
the possibilities and what you can do within Somnium Space to highlight build structures, proper structures that properly show the work in the best possible light, in the best possible context, in that full VR immersion. I feel like that's the future for especially crypto art and digital art.
Especially with their new announcements last week, with the like it's pretty much going to be its own working economy in there with really no hiccups. So I'm very impressed. They release update after update ahead of schedule. It's phenomenal. I was talking to Pavel the other day. I said I haven't seen anyone in the space, carry on at this pace, consecutively for a year. It's
that's super. That's very, very true. What Arthur and his team are doing there is super nice to see. And I think very important step will be to display the galleries slash parcels that have been created in Somnium Space within the web browser to like target and reach like a bigger audience outside of those who jump in straight with their VR headsets. I think those galleries in Somnium Space are the next step, definitely. I've been doing a lot in crypto voxels, of course, not too much in Decentraland because they are a bit limited from like I'm not a hardcore developer, and building a gallery in CryptoVox, it's very simple. And I think in Somnium Space they are taking the same approach that a non-developer can like curate a very individual collection. And stuff that Mocha is doing there is super nice, and everybody will be able to build their gallery in Somnium Space and then showcase it in the web browser.
I like how too you have to be holding that in your wallet to showcase it. Whereas in other worlds, there might be 50 Josies in one building that aren't owned by anyone who owns that building. So the exclusivity and the wallet holder factor, personally, I like.
Yeah.
The dog approves.
The dog likes it too.
There's a lot of gratitude happening in the live stream, so I definitely want to make sure that I communicate that to you, that the community really appreciates you guys being very open and honest and transparent about your views on collecting, your views on the space. Matthew, I liked your question around the backdoor deals. I think that's something that, I personally was curious about, as I've heard of, platforms giving artists advances on auctions or on sales, which I was pretty surprised to hear about that stuff, and just collections being pre-sold before they even go up for auction or drop. So I applaud you on asking those tough questions and getting honest answers and being able to engage these collectors at a level where folks are really respecting what they're saying because they're being honest and transparent with us. There's some other pretty interesting questions.
I'm sorry to have to drop off, but I do have to get
pretty much.
But it was a pleasure speaking with everyone, and thank you very much for having me on today.
Yeah, excellent. I think that's one last question. It's just, what about pixel chain artworks? Those pieces are fully on-chain based. Those pieces are fully on-chain based on code. Are one-of-one unique pieces? Why most of them don't have a high value and valued artist?
That's a good question. Like, I'm advisor of Crypto Motors, and basically Leandro and his team who have created Pixel Chain have been involving me into this earlier this year, even before it launched, and I was testing it very early. And I really like the idea of creating these unique pieces completely on-chain. And I think it's still like, compared to more sophisticated, and maybe that's the wrong word, but high quality individual fine art pieces, which are looking more complex and maybe appeal to a broader audience. I think pixel art is still like a small niche that you have to like, or like many people like it, but like the overlapping with people that know crypto and already have like a MetaMask wallet is still very small. But I can see that there will be demand for these types of things in the future, especially like the early pieces, because it's exactly like that. Like Pixel Chain was the first project that enabled creators, like anyone could create there with a few clicks and then save it, store it entirely on chain. So I really like what they have been doing. And think it has been because of the very high gas cost that the minting has gone, not many people are minting there basically right now because it's too expensive to create artworks. But I guess layer 2 solutions will provide the right environment to kick this off again, and maybe we can see more growing demand as more people start engaging again and creating pixel chain art on layer 2.
Yeah, I think the high gas prices, which led to like a decrease in people being able to mint new work on there, that's definitely one factor. And I also think that it's like an awareness thing. There is the push for on-chain metadata and asking the collector to see like where do you think the image is actually hosted in the crypto art that you're buying. I feel like there's just such a low awareness of what people are actually buying when they scoop a piece of crypto
Absolutely.
art. But with something like the work that's coming from Pixel Chain, completely on chain, and you have some of the biggest names in the space is Hakata, a lot of money that have minted quite a few things there. That again, like those things are quite precious, and when the awareness grows that actually their work is all on chain, and you're buying the token with everything there in one place, not having to rely on like any other service provider, like IPFS going down, doesn't matter. Like it's all right there. I feel like as that awareness spreads and grows, and if and when collectors start to demand more on chain and more that metadata to be on chain, those assets like pixel chain art will probably appreciate considerably. That's sort of my intuition for something like that. But in the short term, it needs to be usable, and there needs to be people creating more work than they have been. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Super. Well, I think this is a good time to say thank you and wrap it up. You guys were awesome. If you have any last minute questions for us or, want to engage our guests, please hit them up on Twitter. All their Twitters are at Crypto Art Advisor. Account is called Universe Contemporary. I'm your host, Lady Phoenix. We have our moderator, Matthew, and our panelist, Renee, who is left on this channel. Please check out their worlds as well. And, panelists and Renee, if you want to go further into some of the things you discussed, definitely feel free to hit up the community on Twitter. We are launching Crypto Basel in the next 2 months, December 1st through December 7th. We will have information about that on our website, cryptoartweek.com. We appreciate the community greatly. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, and we'll see you at 11 o'clock for Beeple. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having me. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Matthew.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Channel, please check out their worlds as well. And, panelists and Renee, if you want to go further into some of the things you discussed, definitely feel free to hit up the community on Twitter. We are launching Crypto Basel in the next 2 months, December 1st through December 7th. We will have information about that on our website, cryptoartweek.com. We appreciate the community greatly. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, and we'll see you at 11 o'clock for People. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for having me. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Matthew.
Cheers. Bye-bye.